Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for appearing today. A key tenet of the Administrative Procedure Act's notice and comment period is the availability of a forum for citizens and interested parties to voice their thoughts, concerns, and opinions on proposed rules that will impact them or their businesses. As legislators, we provide oversight over the regulatory agencies as they implement the laws we write. But public input on pending rules is also important to allow regulators to hear directly from all interested stakeholders. Today, we are examining the impact on rulemaking of so-called AstroTurf or fake grassroots campaigns. Large, coordinated letter-writing campaigns are not new. They have been a key strategy of interest groups across the political spectrum for decades. Because letter-writing campaigns and grassroots advocacy are commonplace, regulators don't evaluate the comments on numbers alone. They have mechanisms in place to deduplicate comments and extract the valuable observations from each comment. Recently, the majority sent Comptroller Otting and FDIC Chairwoman McWilliams identical letters about the public comment period for the proposed Community Reinvestment Act rulemaking. The letters ask for information about how the agencies vet public comments based on a report that an outside group may have submitted fishy comments during a completely different rulemaking at a completely different agency. When Comptroller Otting was before the committee last week, I asked him directly if there was any evidence of fabricated comments and how, if at all, such comments could affect his agency's development of a new rule. He said that this is a non-issue. The OCC has a system in place to review comments on their substance, and it doesn't evaluate comments based solely upon sheer volume. Earlier this week, Comptroller Otting responded to the chairwoman and echoed these same observations. So does the concern over potential astroturfing really warrant this hearing? I would submit that the answer is no. The majority's letter, and frankly this entire hearing, are thinly veiled attempts to slow the rulemaking process on a much-needed modernization to help our communities simply because the majority doesn't like the regulators writing the rules. While not perfect, the FDIC's and the OCC's proposal to reform the Community Reinvestment Act regulations makes important strides to bring the CRA into the 21st century without compromising the important and original intent of the law to serve communities across the country. It provides much-needed clarity for regulated entities to understand how they'll be evaluated and what activities will qualify for CRA credit. It appropriately accounts for the expansion of online banking and allows for CRA deserts in rural or otherwise underserved areas to benefit from investment in their communities. I'm fortunate to have many great community bankers in my district in central and eastern Kentucky. I'm proud of how they partner with their neighbors to drive the local economy. They are committed to helping the low and moderate income borrowers in areas they serve and to make investments that will benefit their community at large. These are people who go to work every day happy to serve their communities. They aren't simply trying to get, quote, double credit for doing half their homework, unquote, as one of the witnesses suggested. More clarity on how they're evaluated for the CRA and the modernizations under the FDIC and OCC proposal could allow them to do even more. As we hear from our witnesses today, I would urge my colleagues to be cognizant of potential unintended consequences. Do we really want to restrict citizens' opportunities to weigh in on important regulations? Is it worth quieting or silencing groups of stakeholders and infringing upon their First Amendment rights, their rights to participate in the administrative process just because you don't like the regulators who are writing the rules? Public feedback on important rulemakings is critical to ensuring regulators get it right. And should Congress really be in the business of evaluating whether or not a particular comment is worthy of inclusion in the record, or whether it should be excluded just because we don't like the particular regulators at the administrative agency? The idea behind the notice and comment rulemaking is that you invite the public to participate. You may not like all the comments that are submitted. You may like some of the comments that are submitted, but the whole point is to have an inclusive process that allows for public input on the rulemaking process. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I look forward to today's hearing, and if I could, I'd like to ask unanimous consent in my remaining time to insert 4 records into the item: a response from Comptroller Otting to the Chairwoman's January 15th, 2020 letter regarding the OCC's protocols regarding comments received during the rulemaking process, a response from Chair McWilliams to the Chairwoman's January 15th, 2020 letter regarding the FDIC's protocols regarding comments during the rulemaking process, and 2 studies written by Dr. Bala on issues pertaining to astroturfing and the public comment period.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And finally, I ask unanimous consent to insert into the record the opening statement of the ranking member of the full committee.